Hi everybody, I'm Cassie with 43 Fitness, a cure for the common mom. And if you know anything about me at this point, you know that I'm very much into working out and I'm very much into eating clean. And I'm very rigid about that, or in the past I have been. But today I want to talk to you a little bit about moderation. As I've gotten mature as a lifter, as I've progressed in clean eating, as I've adopted this as a lifestyle for over 3 years now, I've learned that you do have to allow some room for little things that happen in your life. Just because, I'm a mom at this point, I'm working as a trainer, I've got all kinds of things on my plate. So there's several different things that crop up, but there's a couple that I want to talk to you about specifically. Number one is training. I train 3 to 5 times a week. I've trained 3 to 5 times a week since 2011. And I'm very serious about it. And when I advise my clients, I make sure they understand there has to be a minimum requirement met for consistent training, for consistent hypertrophy, which is just a fancy word for gaining muscle and building strength. However, when you build that over the course of multiple weeks, multiple months, multiple years at this point, you can start getting into patterns that are abusing your joints if you're not watching what you're doing. And I believe it was last year that I posted some information about my shoulder injury. I went through lots of physical therapy. I had a wonderful therapist. She did a great job. I learned a lot about form, even though I thought I was doing it really well. I had screwed up and had given myself some imbalances, which I've since straightened out. However, recently I'm having some neck issues on the same side. So I'm suspecting that I've got a similar related type of issue and that my neck muscles are trying to compensate for whatever's going on. And in most cases, it's generally shoulder work. So I've got an appointment this week to go get that checked out. But what my point is that if I continue to try to work through that on the rigid program that I'm used to doing, all I would do is just make matters worse. So from a training perspective, you really have to listen to your body and understand what it can handle and what it can't. And I know that when you're first getting into a program, you're all gusto and you want to go full force, and I totally understand that and did that for many years. But as I've gotten older, my joints have gotten a little more, I don't want to say fragile, but just not quite as strong as they used to be. And with all this repetitive motion over, like I said, thousands of days, it really tends to take a toll. So every now and then, just like this week, I'll take a week off. It's really good for your central nervous system just to have a break and not having to be rebuilding all the time and responding to all that heavy work that you've done. If you have built a lot of mature muscle like I have, your body tends to hold on to it a little bit longer. So I am very comforted knowing that I can take a break off, a week off here and there, even 2 weeks sometimes, just to give my body a break. So don't be afraid to listen to your body and understand what you need to do to get yourself, to keep yourself safe, keep yourself uninjured, and try to avoid unnecessary injury like I have. And the second thing I want to talk about is the food. And we've talked about food a lot. I talk about food a ton because I feel like for most of my clients, that's really the sticking point. Most people, like I've mentioned in the past, can get to a gym, can get on the track, can get on their bike, can find some form of exercise. And really, food is 80% of the equation when we're talking about fitness. So in terms of eating, there are many different things that come into play in terms of an eating plan. And we've talked about cheat meals. I've listed a link to that post that I've written if you haven't seen that before. It's one of my core philosophies. So it just helps you feel like a human being to have a real meal, a real meal like you used to have that you can indulge in and enjoy yourself without guilt and not have any worries. Then there's also just events that happen, especially this time of year during the holidays. There's all kinds of things that crop up, all kinds of social events, people you haven't seen in a long time, people you have a lot of history with in terms of maybe drinking with a little bit or, having a specific meal at a specific restaurant. Great, fold that all in. Additionally, and I've touched on this before, and you guys might be tired of hearing about it, but man, it's driving me crazy, is the hormone swings. Because I'm creeping up on 46 years old, I've got the ups and downs of the hormones, and I think I told you my PMS symptoms have really intensified. So much so that it stretches out way beyond a day or two. It's more like 4 days, 5 days, depending. Some days I'm insane with rage. Even though I'm taking my B complex vitamins, sometimes I take a couple just to make myself feel better. Even though my family may not notice a difference, I feel like I'm trying to help myself. Additionally, the cravings for carbs are still there. And I really wanted to share with you a methodology that I have adopted that I think is really going to work going forward, especially once you've kind of reached your goals and are maintaining and feeling comfortable about what you're doing. Just let it flow. Let yourself go a little bit. Enjoy extra good foods. Try not to fall off the wagon and dive into donuts and chocolate. But if you do want an extra serving of oatmeal or the beanitos that I'm such a fan of, or an extra slice of whole grain bread with maybe a little butter on it just to indulge, let yourself do that, because you're fighting an uphill battle with hormonal struggles. Your body just wants you to have extra nourishment as you're prepping for a potential passenger. Whether or not you're going to have one, your body could care less. So you have to just know that that's coming. If you can start tracking that, day 1 being your period and going all the way through the 28 days or 30 days, or in my case, who knows what days they are, because they tend to change. Track that and see how it goes. And learn to, when you get into whatever day it is that you're starting to have those issues, just know that's what it is and give yourself some leeway. But on the flip side of that, on the days that you're not having issues, really be committed to staying on your diet and your fitness regimen. Know that you're going to have those down days where you don't have a lot of control over how you're going to feel, because it's not only cravings, but unfortunately it's kind of a 1-2 punch, because you lose a lot of motivation. At least I do. And I've talked to a lot of people who really, really struggle with feeling inspired about going to the gym and sticking with their nutrition plan. So if you keep that in your mind, and on the days that you're really, really struggling, you can give in a little bit and not feel guilty about it, because you don't have a lot of control. It's kind of like your body's on autopilot. Let yourself do that. Give yourself that grace, and know that when days, 1, 2, 3, 5, up to day 14 is generally when women feel their best, the most empowered, the most driven. Stick with it, man. Really, really grab onto it with both hands, because once you hit day 14, up through day 28, day 30, it can really fluctuate. You can have good days, bad days, in between days, sort of moderate. Like I mentioned, just track it and see if you can line out some prediction factors for months to come. It may seem sort of tedious at the outset while you're doing it, but I really think it will help you to realize what's going on in the moment. If you can take a look at a couple of months worth of good information that has formed a pattern for you, when you're having one of those off days, you can look and say, oh, this isn't me. This is my hormones, and this is what they do to me. And so I'm going to give myself some leeway to feel this way and be this way. And then, track it for another couple days, 5, 6, whatever days it will be, and look back and say, okay, this is when I'm feeling better. This is when I'm feeling good and driven. So I'm going to really, really drive that home and make sure that I'm behaving that way. Okay. So just a few tips to keep things in moderation, because I really feel if you can't have a moderate attitude toward this lifestyle, it's really, really hard to keep on a long-term basis. So keep me posted on how things are going for you. If you have any tips or tricks in terms of dealing with these up and down days hormonally, because I know a lot of us do, especially as we get older, because it's so unpredictable. The schedule makes it a challenge, because it's never the same schedule, it seems like, from month to month. Then I'd love to hear from you. So please feel free to respond to this post, or show up on the Facebook page, on the 43 Fitness Facebook page, so you can share with everybody, and we can learn from you as well. All right, so take care, and we'll see you next time.